Hi, guys. It's Erica from Choice Beauty again. Thank you for joining me for episode 3 of our Women's Media Spotlight. Today, I have a special guest joining us. I have a friend, a boss lady in all regards, Yael from Yanie and Yael's event planning. Hi, how are you today?
Hi, Erica. Thanks for having us.
No problem. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Mhm.
I kind of wanted to get started by, saying thank you for, coming on and sharing what you have to offer for the people, because I do know, especially coming out of COVID, a lot of people are excited to kind of get back to our activities that we had going on prior to COVID. And, it's kind of good to know the options that you have. So kind of just explain to the people what you have to offer.
Okay, so again, my name is Yael and I am the founder and lead planner of Yanie and Yael event planning. I am based in New York City, but I also do serve the Caribbean and my Trinity posse, big up, because that's where I'm from. But we offer an array of services, but you can all it down to we plan, we design, and we produce. We work with other vendors to like celebrate those milestones, those weddings, those anniversaries. And that's basically what we do.
So I kind of do want to indulge into a little bit, because I know personally, how
Mhm,
beautiful and how memorable your wedding
mhm.
was, even for somebody
Aw,
like me, who wasn't there, but to see the
right,
pictures and see how everything was planned,
right.
I kind of want to indulge into how you are able to do things like that, because I do know, that you work full time and you're a
Yeah,
wife, you're a mom. So where
right.
do you kind of have the time to plan for
Uh,
other?
so I love planning. I'm type A in that aspect. It kind of like for my ladies who like that control aspect, that's kind of like where we can kind of use our controlling aspect to put together something very beautiful. Um, and honestly speaking, it's like a hobby to me. So that time that people will say, okay, this is work, it's more like fun.
I
It is work, and you got to keep that professionalism standard, but it's fun for me. It's rewarding. You're basically developing something beautiful from like scratch.
Mhm.
And it's also putting other components such as like your client's personality, your client's theme, and what they're looking for. And you're putting all those elements to create something very beautiful and memorable and lasting. So,
So
yeah.
tell me how you got started planning in
Okay.
general. What was the thing that said, you know what,
Well,
I'm
right. So I've always Um, so we use the word creative, right? I've always kind of been creative. I love fashion, typically. Pretty things, as most women, right? We love pretty things. We like making our room look nice, making ourselves look nice. But it all practically started with the event planning when I had to plan my own wedding in
Mhm.
2017. And I knew what I wanted. I knew exactly what I wanted. And I said, I do not trust anyone else to do that for me. I worked closely with Drew Matter in Trinidad. And I'm like, okay, this is something I like. But I didn't fully go into the industry until one of my really great friends from 14 was getting married and she wanted me to plan her wedding. And I'm like, this could be an industry that I can explore because I already have certain skills that could be applied. Of course, everything it's a growing and developing thing you have to take on. So not everything I knew right away, but the basic skills of like making something beautiful, I already had it.
You kind of
So
knew.
Right, and planning my own wedding from scratch. Plus, I was in New York when I was planning my destination wedding for Trinidad. And it wasn't only guests from New York, but we had guests from Trinidad, guests from England, um, potential guests. No one from Nigeria showed up, but that's who we were catering to, all of our family members, and we had to serve them. So it's basically like it was that experience gave me a troubleshooting into what some planners are doing 10 years later, because
Yeah.
destination weddings are so different from just having a wedding at home.
You did say, and you kind of alluded to the fact that, you know, you know, you didn't kind of trust anybody to do
Right,
your own wedding for you. So that's kind of how
right,
you started dibbling and dabbling in it.
right.
But on top of that, so you didn't have any experience planning any type of wedding, but
No,
you were still able to plan a destination wedding
yes.
from New
So,
York
right. And
to Trinidad.
right. And but I've always had experience with planning events.
Hmm.
So like in college and high school, I was part of like a charitable organization. We had to I was one of the key players in like organizing charitable events for the school, and then one of the key players in planning parties. So I've always
Okay.
knew that understand that organization planning aspect,
Hmm.
and I've always had a sense for style, like brought into events, and that's the creativity aspect that I love about it, you know?
I could hear the passion,
Yeah,
kind of like explain and express everything that you kind of do have to factor in when doing anything in reality,
right,
event planning. But really, when doing anything, you kind of do have to take into like those differences and how those differences can be applied elsewhere to help boost.
right,
Overall,
exactly,
I definitely get where you're coming from with that.
right.
Now, I want to jump kind of left a little bit, because I know I kind of heard you say, that you've worked with charitable organizations in the past, and you big on organization. Where do you think that comes from? Like, is that something that developed in you from young? Was that something you
Mm,
were taught? Like, is that just one day you woke up and said, "Hey, I want to help people"? Like,
right.
explain.
I think it was a combination of both of what I was taught as well as what I've been exposed to. Um, so like my parents were business owners, so I saw that level of bring back into the community when you can and when you should, and when even when you should, that you should do it, like even when they don't want you to, that you should do it, as well as like nature versus nurture argument. It's, I think, and it's really both. It's that my upbringing really helped to cultivate certain skills within myself that now I can kind of exude it into the event planning industry. And I actually like it. You know, some people exude their creativity and all the skills that they've collected into fashion design, and some others do it with, other things. And I think this is something that um, kind of I ended in
Mm-hmm.
to be in, that I actually really do enjoy. This is one thing that I always say, is that the moments that we are celebrating with an event planning is institutions created by the creator himself,
Mm-hmm.
Hashem, you know, it's life, it's marriage, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's commitment, and these are the things I want to continue celebrating and helping others do that. So I think it's just a combination of so many things that I'm like, this is a business that I will actually explore.
Always talk about that, how some people
Right,
have the passion to create, or some people have the passion to provide service for other people, and they get
right,
actual fulfillment and joy from doing those acts. And then you have the people on the other hand who kind of understand that providing service provides money. So then now,
right,
point in time, if I do this service, I can get
hmm,
money from it. So then
right,
now there's a lack of dedication, or there could be like
right, and
lack.
relationship building, you know,
Yeah, it's not there. And people know when, or
right,
hopefully you would hope that somebody knows when
right,
they're dealing with somebody that's truly passionate, somebody that's truly knowledgeable about what they're talking about and what they're doing, and then like somebody who is like, oh, I could do that too, let me just do it,
right,
type thing.
facts,
You get what I'm saying?
facts, facts.
Planning your wedding was a big thing for you, and that's kind of how you got you kind of started into the field. But tell
Mm-hmm.
me about how it was planning for a friend, because now you knew exactly what you wanted. Now you have to deal with somebody who knows exactly what they want for their wedding,
Right,
but now
right.
want you to execute that for them. Tell me how that
Exactly.
scenario was,
S-
especially for you, being
right.
that you really didn't have any experience in the first place.
Right. So as far as like the planning and the producing and the executing, that wasn't my worry per se. It was just making sure the client felt like she was heard. And this is one thing about when you're planning your wedding, especially, you can be so bombarded by inspiration and so many things like I want this, I want that, I want that. That was a learning experience for me to when you to help curtail your clients and say, this is your budget, this is what you want, and let's stick on the bigger picture of what you want, and then I will be able to execute exactly what you want, but fitting to the needs of the whole event. An interesting experience because I've learned so much from planning that friend's wedding. She, her and her parents beyond satisfied. But I think with any beginning business owner or beginning anything with your first few events, you will always see what was done, what could be done better, because this everything is always a learning experience, like anything, regardless of what stage that you're in, it's always in a learning experience. But it was I'm happy it was successful. The event was successful. And plus also her wedding, we planned it for 2020. And 2020 was such a big year for everyone. It was with COVID happened. So there was a lot of, so like imagine like a new planner had to deal with so much
Cancellation.
COVID
Yeah.
changes, like
Mm-hmm.
guests, like get like a change of venue, like that. So like it wasn't too much on my plate, but I am so grateful for that experience. But it taught me so much. But we pulled off a rustic chic wedding in
And
Brooklyn,
it
so
so cute.
you know.
And I, when you guys have the chance to check out, Jail's Instagram and check out her social medias, that wedding was beautiful,
Yes,
and
yeah,
guys were able to capture that moment. And I was like, wow, they did that
right,
there.
right.
I was like, I'm not
In
gonna ruin it
Brooklyn,
for, yeah, I'm not
right,
gonna ruin it for the people, because I want them to
right,
really go and see what you were able to
right,
produce with what you
yeah,
had. But
right.
you were able to produce a beautiful wedding. And that's the amazing thing about having
Mm,
friends,
right.
because
Yes.
you can count on them to do things like that for you, and I
Yeah.
more than anything, she kind of just knew that as a friend that she could trust you to do
Yeah.
something
And,
like that,
and
regardless of the
ex-
experience you
and
have.
and that's one thing she understood with me because prior to event planning, I wanted to be an anesthesiologist, and she always said, "Yeah, I can see you doing that because you're so particular. You're so like making sure like accurate and want things to be precise." And
Mhm.
I carry that over into the event planning industry. That I listen to my clients. I know what they want, but then I would just add that sophistication and elegance that's part of my style. But you want the tropics, you want the rustic, bring it on. The same friend that I did her wedding, she understood that. She understood that with having me doing her wedding, couldn't go wrong because she was actually one of my bridesmaids, and she saw
The
she
dedication
and
and
as right. So as being even a bridesmaid, but a guest in a foreign country that she's never been in, she was pleased with the accommodations, with everything, with the wedding itself. So she really trusted me into doing that. And I'm really glad she did, because it was a beautiful experience. And I'm happy. I even shed a tear at her wedding. So it was beautiful. It
it's
was
like, look at
beautiful.
my beautiful work.
Right? And love and marriage.
Mhm.
So yes, yes.
I love that. So, when you kind of think about, and I know that, we're talking a lot about this wedding, but I know that you don't only plan weddings. I know that you have experience planning parties, and,
Mm-hmm.
just like you're talking about those lifetime.
Engagements, right?
Yes. When you kind of look back at all the things you've done, did you picture yourself really saying like, oh, this is all that I would have been able to achieve since,
Mm-hmm.
planning my own wedding in 2017.
Right. No, not at all. I never thought I would be here. Never thought I would be doing this. But I'm glad I've delved into the industry. Um, but it's so much more than like what I've achieved. It's like the relationships that I was able to build, like meeting complete strangers and like we're hanging out for New Year's or we're planning to do this or do another vacation. Like that's what I actually really do love is the relations that we're building within these relationships of client and
Professional or
yes, you're the professional server or whatever the case is. I know not all relationships would be like that in different industries, but I would love that. I don't mind just doing 2 weddings a year or doing like a few parties a year because it gives me time to build a relationship with my clients and
and make
you
sure
know
you're what they want.
exactly. Even though I can do a time constraint because I've had clients contacting me about 3 weeks prior to what he wanted, and we were able to pull up exactly what he wanted. His fiance was ecstatic. He was ecstatic. His family was pleased, and like they want me to plan their wedding. It's just we haven't set a date yet. We can do time constraints, but I want that personal touch, and that's what I want to give because who just want to say you're just on the assembly line of other clients that you have? No one wants that, and that's one
Yeah.
of the things I didn't want either for my wedding.
Well,
I'm
you know what
rambling,
you want. So you kind of
right?
what you want, you know what you're expecting, which is also very
Yes.
important. You might know what they
Mhm.
want, but they don't know exactly what to expect. So it kind of keeps
Right.
up in the air. You get what
Exactly. It's kind of like when you're on shopping for your personal trainer. You're seeing their results or you
you
see
don't know
their
if y'all
work.
gonna mess. You don't know if that's the person that you want screaming in your ear to keep going.
Exactly. Exactly.
I
So,
get I get
yeah.
it. Yeah, no, those relationships are important. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to get into like where do you see yourself going in the future? Because I know that you are somebody who is well traveled or who loves to travel and get those
Mm-hmm.
experiences. And where do you see life taking not just you but you and your business in the
Okay. I think that's a very hard question just because just with the whole state of what everything is going on in the world right now, tomorrow is not promised for anyone.
Very true.
And that's kind of what I live by. But I do like planning, right? Um, but ideally speaking, I would love that my business will grow. But to say that in the next 10 to 15 years, I want to be one of the top, even 10 to 15 years, we don't know what the world is going to look like, so I can only take it day by day. But day by day, as I meet clients, as I am whatever I'm doing, I'm putting my all into it and I'm giving my all into it to make sure that outcome is what I'm satisfied with and what my client is satisfied with. One thing I can say is that you plan early. And when you plan early, you can plan for those bumps that may arise. Um, but you just put your all into it.
Whatever you do, you're gonna just stay focused. Make sure that you give it your
Your
all
all.
for
Exactly.
everybody. All right. Well, that's
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Now I know it could be kind of stressful, having to meet the demands of other people, and I
Mm-hmm.
know. You're a wife, you're a mom, having to meet those demands as well. And then you
Mm-hmm.
also full time, so having to meet the demands of the
Right.
man. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Able to balance all of that for yourself.
Because I'm very methodical. So
Mm-hmm.
like with my 9 to 5, I already know what to expect. I already know like where my break time is. When I come home, I already know that my daughter, Janie, she's part of Yanie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Janie, she will, hello, she will fall asleep like around 10 o'clock. I already know certain things. When I have a client, that now I am able to set certain timelines that I will meet for them and to get that done. So
Mm-hmm.
just because that's how my brain works. I'm methodical. So me uh getting time or making time for someone else is it's easy for me to know because I plan things.
So you kind of
I'm
just
type A.
plug in what needs to be plugged in, where it needs to
Right,
be plugged
right.
in.
And making sure things are done.
Now, have you ever had to deal with a client or a potential client that
Mhm.
wanted your service or wanted you to do something, but didn't want you to do it the way that you are supposed to do it? Like,
When you're getting married or you're planning an event, a lot of people, that's their first time doing it when they reach out to a professional, right? I want this in my head, but they don't know the logistics that goes on behind the scenes.
mm-hmm.
Um, so one thing is transparency. That's my thing, but do it respectfully. You be transparent. You break it down to them. Whatever that client needs, you you give it to them and you explain things to them. Explanation is key. Communication is key. Because a lot of people really don't understand the aspect of the execution that happens behind the scenes to give you the beauty that you're getting on
Mm-hmm.
November 1st or December 2nd, you know? Um, so communication is key, transparency is key, and see.
I've definitely seen a bunch of the, like when you look on social media, you see all those like bad reviews or like,
Mhm.
this is what I want, but this is what I got type of
Right,
scenario. And like,
right.
sometimes you see some of those scenarios and you're like, wow, but you was messed up for doing that, or you
But you,
did
and I
that.
think, right. And I think what it comes down to, what I tell all clients, is three factors: your taste, your budget, and then how they communicate with you.
Mm-hmm.
A big part is, now let's say you book that professional, you have to understand that your budget is going to only allocate certain things. And if, as a
Always.
professional, is telling you, now your budget will stretch more here versus here, kind of take that into account. Now, of course, because we are service driven and we want things that will reflect our brand, we'll always try to make it work. But you also have to be practical and real about the factors that you are not bringing to the table.
You kind of have to deal with not quantity versus
Right.
quality, but you have to deal with quantity and quality,
Right.
like something a little bit more personal. Now, I know
Mm-hmm.
that for you, you have Janie and you have your husband, and I know sometimes it could be a little bit overwhelming to kind of say, oh, well, I know you're methodical. So it's time for you to kind of just break down and say, okay, I don't want to deal. Even though I love event planning, don't want to deal with you today. Janie, love you, baby. Don't want to deal with you today. And husband,
Right.
look my way, because I definitely don't want to deal with you today.
Right. Right.
How are you able to kind of just push through and say, you know what, this is JL's time. What does JL's time look like?
JL's time looks like me riding in the car to work by myself, um, like the gym, or working out. And you know what? Those little moments is just like, all right, like me talking to you right now, it's my moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is to be thankful for every little moment that you do have, because I think within this society, we continue to just look at others and look at other things and say like,
Oh, I wish I had
I want
more. I couldn't.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And that's something I think it's more of an issue than the time that we need for ourselves. Because
Yeah.
in the part of our mind is saying, well, I should be doing this for the time for myself. Not necessarily, everyone is different. So my time for myself looks a different time for yourself, for you. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Some people's time for themselves are getting their nails and their feet done. Some people's time for themselves are getting their hair done. Some people's time for themselves will be running or jogging or whatever the case is. But to really be grateful in those times for themselves. Because the time that you said I do at the altar and the time that you said I am having this child, you took certain things away. And now it's your responsibility
Mhm.
for whatever time they decide to get married themselves, or when your husband decides to just take care of himself, which doesn't all happen.
Yes.
So it's, these accountability and responsibility moments that you're facing. And like
Hmm.
a lot of people, you say adulting is ghetto, right? I want to call it ghetto, but adulting is adulting. You have
Yeah.
responsibilities. You're being accountable for certain things, and it's not as easy as I'm speaking it right now, because I still want to.
Sometimes
3 o'clock in
just
the morning, I'm sipping my wine. I get really, I want to go out. I want to go out, but in reality, your daughter's there, and you have to weigh those things and wait for your own lifestyle. Um, so at the end of the day, it's me being grateful in the moments that I do have for myself. I am afforded the ability to travel with my family, and those things that you really have to put yourself in the moment and really enjoy, and not say, well, I should be off on the boat with my husband myself, and I should have a babysitter at home who I trust. And, no, that's not my lifestyle. And I'm not going to look at that and say, well,
yeah. Because
that's
there's definitely, for some reason, there is this overall selfishness that I have experienced when dealing with people in this day and
right,
age. They kind of feel like, yeah, the kid should be like left at home for some reason, like
right.
some reason the child's life and the child learning and experiencing these things are not as
Doesn't,
important as you experiencing these things, because
yeah,
you use this time as a break away from them. But
right.
you don't,
Now,
we're not understanding that those are the experiences that are building our children, that
them,
are building us.
right. Because
So
by the time they reach 16, they don't want to have anything to do with us,
that's true.
So, and then you have all the time with your husband, your wife.
It sounds like family for the both of us. Sounds like it's very important,
Right,
regardless of
right.
what, making sure that the children, and making sure that you, as you said, are attentive to your responsibilities. But
Yes,
a whole nother
yes.
conversation that people could get into. People know that they have responsibilities. It does not necessarily mean that they are attentive to them.
Meeting it,
Really mean
right,
that they're, going and doing exactly what they need to be doing to make sure that those responsibilities are met.
right, exactly.
But that's a whole nother conversation for another
It
time.
is, it is, it is.
You can talk about that one. But
Right.
kind of get us back on track talking about you and your business.
At the end of the day, because I will always say, like, I'm pretty new to the industry. Like my counterparts that I see on Instagram, on the web, they've had 20 years in, 25 years in, 15 years in, and I'm only coming in five years in, per se. Not that much. I would say 5 whole years, but so it's really, right now it's a time for me to really build that portfolio. But I have this dichotomy of wanting to build my portfolio, but I even told like my husband and the people around me, it's like, I don't mind my business kind of continuing just by word of mouth. Like,
Mhm.
my friend hired me, and her friend, like, oh, I really like your wedding, and who did, and it goes into that. But then there's also the other aspect of like networking with people like you really don't know. But I really would love to like build my portfolio. But like I've always said, and like, as if you ever like ventured into my posts, like, it will always, like, those gems who are for me, they will come, and it will be a good mesh, because I'll give you my all. And once we're working together, I'll make sure that your event, your wedding is spectacular. And we'll meet all the needs that you have as a client. But it's sort of just really getting those clients, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Market that I'm in, it's very saturated, very
Mhm.
saturated. And it's not saturated for no reasons. There are so many creatives out there, so many different people with what can offer so many different things, and that's why I love it. And this is something I can offer to somebody else.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not seeing it as like my check to Hollywood. That's not how I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it as my friend is getting married. I'm about to do the like we about to bomb this out. Like it's about to be lit. The vibe's about to be lit. It's still gonna have taste to it because I'm big on taste. I'm big on that elegance. Like the flow is gonna be great. So that's basically where I'm coming from, and that's what I'm gonna offer every and each client that comes to me that wants to work with me. That's what I'm offering them.
I just want to say thank you so much, Yael, for joining me today for our third episode of the Women's Media Spotlight. Thank you for signing up. Please people where they could find you on social media.
So it's Yanie and Yael _events on Instagram. Yanie and Yael. The and is plus event planning on Facebook. And that's where you guys can find me,
Definitely tag all of her social media into, whatever links, YouTube, Instagram, wherever they go, so you guys can find JL and check out Yanie and Yael's event planning. Go on her Instagram, check it out, see what she's done, see, what she offers, and maybe you can be sparked or inspired by something that you've seen for your next event.
Thank you. Yes.
And, overall, I just want to say thank you so much again, JL, for joining us today.
No, thank you.
This third episode of our Women's Media Spotlight, and that's it. We're out of here. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.